IKONINI. So on Monday kuna vile the Senator Kiprotich Arap Cherargei alibaki ametweet, Kenyans, are you aware that in 2022 general elections cost 35.8 billion Kenyan shillings? This translates to 2,000 shillings per voter, and this was used with an outstanding pending bill of 2.05 billion by IEBC. This is the most expensive election cost in the world. That's why we don't need to hold elections regularly, because these monies can be used for the development projects across the country. Imagine approximately 1 billion per county for the development expenditure, or give to counties for the equitable shareable revenue collection. So this is what Cherargei alibaki amesema on Monday. And you could see from this, unaweza feel that defeatist tone, like he'd given up, because alikuwa na feel like his bill has gotten battered kabisa. But don't forget vile musemaga, if you see a dog barking, you have to ask who the owner is. And the owner wa hii kinini haga tunadili nayo ni none other than William Samoei Ruto. So I'm sure what happened that day was he was told, Budajo, we are the government, we control information, kwa nini una act ni kama hauji? So the next thing that he did ni alibaki ameenda kwa the Senate floor, na kwa the Senate floor umse alibaki amesema kitu fulani ile kama una doubt ni haga tunadili nayo, utabaki umenotisi ni haga, hii ni la rasa. Okay, so sikia kile alisema.
What I saw in Nation newspaper today is very unfortunate. Even data protection measures, I have been a victim for the last 1 week. My phone has been called, I have received insults, I have received praises. As we talk today, my phone, Mr. Speaker, has over 12,000 messages, SMSs. I have close to 20,000 WhatsApp, Mr. Speaker. I have received so many phone calls, and there is a data privacy breach that no one is addressing, Mr. Speaker. And they are salameering me. By the way, I want to report to the House on all those, even the email of Senate is approaching 500,000 email that reacted to my bill, Mr. Speaker. And Kenyans are 60-40. As at now, 60% of Kenyans are supporting my bill, 40% are opposing. As the usual triangulations, Mr. Speaker.
Umesikia? So on Monday, alikuwa anatuambia vile elections ni expensive. Then on Tuesday, he goes ahead to say that 60% ya sisi Kenyans tuna support extension of presidential terms. Na hindo ni kitu nakuambia tuna deal na haga. But sasa, wacha to get into the nitty-gritties za hii ujinga. So umse, sijui kama ni kutake back, I don't know if I should take you back to ile time Uhuru alikuwa in power. But before ni kutake back to ile time Uhuru alikuwa in power, wacha tusikie hii nonsense. Kuna vile so amekuwa kitry kujustify sana why we need to add the terms, and apart from add terms, tuna need to add kitu ingine pia inaitwa nini. Apart from adding terms, we need to also add extra offices. So this is this guy this year, and then ataka take back to the year 2022 when it was not Ruto in power. Cheki, ile time ilikuwa ni Uhuru. But before Uhuru, let's see this guy when Ruto is in power.
Issue of the office of the Prime Minister, Kenyans are 50-50 on this. You know, the nature of our democracy in this country is we have 42 tribes, and sometimes many Kenyans feel left out in terms of power sharing arrangement, because at the moment you only have the president, the deputy president, the speakers of houses, both the Senate and the National Assembly, but there are no other senior seats within the country that shows there is a representation.
So hii haga umeisikia inasema that other tribes want to feel represented. Mimi ni mjaka, kuna time Raila alikuwa prime minister, it did not help me with anything. This is nonsense. No one wants their tribe to be a prime minister. What do you think we are? You think we are illiterate, that we think that one person becoming something should make us feel good? That makes me feel nothing. But on this issue of the prime minister, bado na deal tu na hii haga moja. Unajua haga zinakuwaga mbili, but na deal tu na haga moja. So wacha tusikie kile hii haga ilikuwa imesema ile time Uhuru was in power. Wacheki ile time sasa walikuwa nafikiria that Uhuru nini anataka cling on to power na vitu kama hizo, so they started fighting him. So this one I could take back to which year? This is 4 years ago. This was 2nd of November 2020.
Nasikia pale juu, nasikia iko wenzangu maseneta ati wako na mkutano pale Naivasha, ati wameitana wanaenda kuongelea BBI na ni maseneta wajai Korogoro, wamechukuliwa na tumbo, wanataka kupanga mambo ya raia. Mnataka watu wale viongozi wapangie nyinyi maneno, ama nyinyi ndio mtajipanga? Si mnajipanga ama mnataka mupangwe? Na hii BBI ukiona wameongeza viti, mnataka mambo ya prime minister ama mnataka mambo ya bodaboda? Mnataka mambo ya vijana ama mnataka mambo ya viti mawabunge kuongezwa? So we are saying to move forward in uncontested referendum, we must sit down and agree on how we can agree on the dialogue of the issues that we have been given. I want to...
Umecheki. So, hii time Uhuru alikuwa in power. So, according to hii haga, tuko tuna need the office of the prime minister. But right now, because Ruto is in power, all of a sudden he's gotten like this wisdom, and all of a sudden other tribes want to feel represented. I think if you're to ask any tribe here Kenya, like what would they rather have? Would they rather have these long presidential terms where their tribe is represented, or would they rather even have one tribe running us forever? We'd take one tribe running us forever, not one individual. Wacheki, hii story ya tribe ile mmekuwa mkitumia mnatudanganya that if our tribe is in a certain position we benefit, it's nonsense and it has to stop. Saizi naweza kuambia hii bili ya stima tunatumia hapa, the cabinet secretary wa stima ni mjaka. I've not gotten any special favors because of that. So now wacha tucheki hii story. Kitu nikatiaga na hii inchi ni sugwaga tunakuwa excited na vitu ndogo ndogo, alafu ile time tunakuwa excited na hizi vitu ndogo ndogo tunabaki tumesahau like the bigger picture. For example, saa hizi utachiki kuna wasa wana post wanasema that Cherargei is doing all this because of Cherargei. But mimi nashinda niki-insist, if you hear a dog barking you have to wonder who is the owner. Cherargei ni msee alikuwa elected under UDA, and not only under UDA, this is someone else who was elected under Nini, like alinusoa Rift Valley. So ni msee the president knows personally, and the president can just call him and tell him to stop this nonsense. So when you see this thing going through all these levels, it's because the president really wants us to change the constitution. And wacha to go back in time, wase waniambia like mwafu nakumbuka vile the president alisemaga majuzi, ametuambia that he wants nothing to do with changing the constitution majuzi. Kumbuka hiyo nini clip nani alibaki ameishare, umsa naitwa nani Duale. But this actually happened. Let me remind you, this happened 2 months and 2 days after Ruto had been sworn in power. 2 months and 2 days. Kumbuka Uhuru stayed in power for how long? For 10 years. And for these 10 years, we never had any talk about increasing the presidential term. But mse, alafu, don't forget, when he's lying, he always does that kilip thing. And you know it's a lie. So, cheki kile alisema 2 months and 2 days after he was sworn in as president.
We will oppose any move to change the constitution. I will be at the front to say no to any change of the constitution, to change term limit, to change things that benefit individuals. Here, that is unnecessary, that is uncalled for, and it is an exercise in futility.
That is unnecessary. So you know that was a lie. This guy wants to be president forever, and anyone who's disputing that can just see. Like Kibaki was president for 10 years. No one ever heard of him extending. Uhuru, 9 years and 5 months. This never even became a subject. But now this guy, all of a sudden, because he's chosen by God, now he needs to run the country forever. And okay, utasikia hivyo alafu useme like, Buddha, msee, kama alisema hataki hii kitu, inamaanisha haitaki, kwa nini wao ina-insist anaitaka? And I insist because in life you have to check the patterns. And everyone creates a pattern. Nasemekanaga in life we all create patterns. And every time that you try to change your pattern, you start creating another pattern. So let's see the pattern that this guy has created. Now the pattern that he's created is a pattern of lies. So I want to take you back to when was this? 4th of January 2023. This time he'd been in power for maybe around 3.5 months. Sa wacha tusikie kile kitu alisema Nini 1 year ago.
Let me repeat, for the avoidance of doubt, there will be no extrajudicial killings in the government of Kenya under my administration. Yeah, that is a chapter we must close and weld and bolt and put it behind us.
Sa mesikia hivyo, alisemaga there will be no extrajudicial killings as long as yuko in power. Then what ended up happening? Yes, what ended up happening? Kulikuwa na headline ya Nation walikuwa wameandika how police use phones to track stroke capture suspects. This one was on Tuesday, October 29th, 2024. Sindio? Umse kumbuka alikuwa ametuambia just 1 year and maybe how many months, and 9 months ago he told us this was a thing of the past, this would never happen. Tukigo back to June, tunajua how many extrajudicial killings happened. Like over 60 people were killed because this guy wanted to be loved, and we decided no, we don't love you anymore. And for him that hurt his feelings. Aka unleash the police on us, and the police did what the hell they were going to do to us. But now this is interesting because even the mainstream media, at least they are starting to get cojones. So ilikuwa mainstream media like jana, and they were discussing history ya abductions, na trying to understand like why is it happening. Kumbuka we were promised a year ago by this guy, and we didn't even ask him. Ye mwenyewe ndiye aliamua kutu promise. So unajidanganya, the guy who promised us that no be hakutakuwa na abductions, and kuna abductions, vile alitu promise atakuwa the first person kufight history ingine, tunataka kumkubali. Wacha tubaki tumesikia kile ilikuwa na discussiwa Citizen jana.
There is this special report by the papers this morning on how police use phones to track and capture suspects, and this follows a 30-day investigation which exposes how the police access customer sensitive data, including records, and identify crime suspects in breach of customers' rights to privacy, and how telecommunications companies frustrate justice in cases where security agencies are implicated in cases of extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances. And this in light of course, what happened in the aftermath of June 25th, when Parliament was breached by the demonstrating Kenya's Generation Z, who were dead against the finance bill then, which was subsequently withdrawn by the government.
Mecheki. So this, and ukiangalia Citizen, what they actually called it ilikuwa daybreak, why police are abducting President Ruto's critics. Mecheki. Why the police are abducting. So it goes back to the same thing ile nakuambia. This guy stands in front of us and tells us that he's not going to increase his term. But then you find someone who's super close to him keeps insisting on this, telling us how elections are expensive. Elections are expensive. We should not have elections, basi. Let's just save all this money. But will this money be saved? We have people like Akina Obado who stole 2 billion, supported Ruto, and they settled out of court for 200 million. This is 1.8 billion taxpayers money just went, ilienda tu hivyo. So saa hizi tunafaa kuwa happy because the president has a government of national unity, and now we should be happy and be like start supporting this nonsense. And okay, go back to ile statement ya Ruto. That's one of the things you have to be. With this guy, you have to be very careful with how he says things. And I feel like he told us what he actually felt vile alibonga jua hii story ya ku-increase term limits. And nataka umsikize closely, usikie how he denies it. He does not come out at clearly that he's against it.
Changing the constitution. I want to tell you that the discussion on changing the constitution for parochial, selfish, personal matters is no space to go. I want to be very clear that as president, I will not participate in mutilating the constitution.
Nasikia hiyo part, as president, I will not participate. But I'll let them participate, you know? I'll let them do my dirty work. I will not participate. So now we have to start asking ourselves, which country do we live in? I know it's a company, and I know it's called Ruto Incorporated. But can we actually, as Kenyans, go back to the Moi eras? I know some of you maybe mko too young, hamkumbuki time ya Moi. But a lot of these freedoms that we enjoy right now, fast internet, the reason why Kenya has faster internet than Tanzania and Uganda is because we don't have dictatorships. These are things we take for granted, because unapataga kuna wasi wana separate uko kwa TikTok na shake rasa yako, uko politics does not concern you. That fast internet you're using is courtesy of the freedoms that we have. So everything is political. That's something you need to get through your head. Kama when you are those people who claim everything is not political. Kila kitu ni politics. Stima ikigo high ni politics. Chakula ikigo high ni politics. Everything is political. So now, umsasha tuambia vile hata participate kwa mutilate the constitution. But this is the interesting thing unibambagana Africa. There's always this discussion of presidents doing a good job and now they need to continue working forever. So this happened in TZ, and really happening in TZ, Magufuli started doing a good job in quotes, and what Magufuli was doing, of course, ni hakuwa nakubali nini corruption. Like corruption had to come to zero, but still on the other side he was doing abductions na vitu kama hizo. But sasa kuna time sasa I think wasi waliogopa Magufuli juu hizi abductions mpaka they started telling him, why don't you become the life president? And I'd actually say that this surprised me. This is something that he said on the 14th of March 2018. So this is more than 6 years ago. Kumbuka, wasi walikuwa wanambeg kuwa president for life because they were afraid of him na vitu kama hizo. But hii ndio kitu walisema.
Haijalishi kwamba haya yanafanyika wakati Magufuli ndio rais. Mimi ni wakupita tu. Lakini maendeleo ya Watanzania ni lazima yabaki. Na historia ya Tanzania ni lazima isimame. Mimi nitakuja wakati wangu, nitaondoka. Alikuwepo Nyerere, alifanya yake, akaondoka. Akaja Mwinyi, akafanya yake, akaondoka. Akaja Mkapa, akafanya yake, akaondoka. Amekuja mzee Kikwete, amefanya yake, ameondoka. Na mimi nitakuja, nitafanya yangu, nitaondoka. Lakini Tanzania itaendelea kubaki. Na ndiyo maana haya tunayafanya kwa manufaa wa Watanzania.
Mesikia hiyo? Yale tunayafanya kwa manufaa ya Watanzania. Everything that we do for Kenya should always be for the benefit of Kenya. I hate repeating history. Mupendaga sana kuirepeat. But let me put it this way. Right now Kenya ni older kunishinda. Kenya is a few years older than me, I think. Kenya is around 61 years old. So Kenya iko around 17 years older kunishinda. But there are a lot of Kenyans who are older than Kenya. So kuna mtu kama maybe Raila hivi, he's older than Kenya. But do you know one thing? At some point, Kenya will be older than all of us who exist. Because one day, sisi wote wale tunaishi Kenya tutakuwa tumededi. Lakini Kenya itakuwa. Hii kiti nimekalia, someone else will be here. Hii room niko, someone else will be here. And most probably they won't even know that I existed. Kama si hivyo, kama si room, maybe hii building niko, itakuwa imeangushwa and something else will have taken that space. So we need to separate Kenya from individuals. We need to stop putting people at such high pedestals that tumekubali inchi ibaki ime lose as long as an individual gains. And this is the philosophy that we had under Jomo Kenyatta, where it was all about him. Then tukatoka kwa Jomo Kenyatta, tukaenda kwa Moi, all about him. Moi saizi unacheki, watoi wake wanafaitia 300 billion. That was not in his will. 300 billion Kenyan shillings. Which companies, which invention did Moi have to make him a billionaire? No, that was just taxpayers' money. And then kukakuja umse wa saa hizi, what he's doing is he's just signing contracts left, right and center. And these are contracts that are going to mess us up huko mbele. and he never looks at it that way. He just looks at it from the individual level. So mseka Magufuli na mwangaliaga, and I see, are there abductions under Magufuli? Yes. Are there abductions under Ruto? Yes. Was there TZ corruption under Magufuli? No. Is there TZ Kenyan corruption under Ruto? Yes. Was Tanzania signing bullshit contracts under Magufuli? No. Is Kenya signing bullshit contracts under Ruto? Yes. And say, like there's even a famous clip yake, ili akiambia tu say that we can't keep signing these contracts that bind us for very many years, and apart from kutubind for very many years, zina kuaga like very unreasonable. Usisahau saizi tunaenda force. Adani is going to go through. Don't even lie to yourself, because the Kenya judiciary is useless, and the only time the Kenya judiciary proves it's not useless is when someone like me says it's useless, and now they want to throw me in jail because nimewatukana ama kitu kama hiyo. But wacha tucheki kile Magufuli alisemaga juu ya kusainizi madeal kama hizo akina Adani.
Tumelipa compensation kule Kigamboni ya ardhi, wawekezaji wanakuja kujenga wa China kwa bandari. Kitu cha ajabu sana duniani, hakijawahi kufanyika, cha kipumbavu. Bilioni 115 waliolipwa kule Bagamoyo. Kama wapo wakazi wa Bagamoyo, inawezekana hawafiki 20. Watu ni wa mjini humu, na wala hela hizo zimepotea. Na wawekezaji hao wanakuja na masharti ya ajabu, ni ya kichaa tu anayeweza kuyakubali. Anakuambia akijenga bandari pale, uhakikishe uendelezi bandari yoyote kutoka Tanga mpaka kusini Mtwara.
Kumbuka kichaa hapa Kenya ilikuwa that Adani wakisha take over JKIA, Kenya will not be allowed to develop any airport around JKIA. Cheki, uni marehemu Magufuli alisemanga ni kichaa peke yake anaweza kubali. But sasa kile watu wengine wanataka ni tukubali huu kichaa aendelee kurani country forever. You have to ask yourself, like, if we can have a president who just keeps making bad decisions, that also means that we can have a president who keeps making all the right decisions. Na si hatujakata, wewe maliza term yako. Kuna wasome kwa kisema hata usifike 2027. Mimi nasema wewe maliza term yako, lakini ukishamaliza jipe shughuli. Historia kwanza kutuambia vile to change constitution juu ndio ulitumwa na Mungu. The God that you worship is not the God that all of us worship. If this God supports corruption, supports abductions, mimi hutanipata hapo. Alafu ule msee ameinsist hapa that time is not enough. Because kuna Kenya walikaa mwaka believe that it's all about personal interests, and apart from personal interest, they've come and lied to people that tribe is the ultimate thing you should be loyal to. So umse ule alikuwa nasema we need to change the constitution so that Ruto stays in power for longer. Nataka kutake back in time. Bila nilisemaga hii kitu lazima tukuje na receipts. So nataka kutake back in time to when Uhuru was in power. The same guy ule umecheki ali dismiss stories za prime minister. Right now he's talking about prime ministers. The same person ule anasema we increase term limits. Let's go back to the time when Uhuru, who was from a different tribe, was the president of the country.
This country belongs to 47.5 million. The constitutional reforms, an agenda of reviewing the constitution, does not belong to the leaders. It belongs to Kenyans all over the country. We will not allow you to pass a constitution where it benefits only a few individuals who want to cling and stay in power. And I want to challenge President Uhuru Kenyatta. Nasikia umedanganywa ati wewe ni mdogo usiende retire. 60 years ni mingi. Hata juzi naona badala ya kupea vijana kazi, unapea wazee wa 60 years wa kuwa ambassador. Mzee wa 60 years anaenda kufanya nini?
So mecheki. So Uhuru apparently didn't want to leave power because he was actually 61 vile alitoka power. That was too young. But you know what? Ruto will be 65. But now all of a sudden 65 is too young. Nacheki. because it's William Samoei Ruto, the guy who Jesus opened the sky and dropped on us as a leader. Ini upumbavu lazima to fight, and all I can say is as Kenya we are going to go through a very rough patch, because we are going through some of the like a political period of some of the dumbest politicians wale washaitoka 254. And kwa nini waitawa dumb? Because hizi mapolitician haziko na ambition. And a bright politician has ambition. Acheki, like I always have this one joke ile mupendaga kusema. Na mupendaga kusema vile like vice president wa Uganda akikaa chini na Museveni, alafu Museveni amuulize where do you see yourself in 5 years? They always say nowhere, just here, ama where you want me, sir. But as a Kenyan politician, if you're not seeing yourself as the president at least in 2032, maybe 2027 is too soon, but at least in 2032, that means you are dumb and you have no business being a politician, leave alone being a leader. So to let one guy, just because he's giving you money, if he's giving you money through corruption, basi wewe mwenyewe ingia ujipatie do yako ya corruption. Na msisahau hii do yenyu ya corruption. One day there'll be a leader who will come back and take all that money from you people. But this is my message to Cherargei. Wewe ni haga. Najua. Wewe ufai kukaa place tunakaa. Wewe ni haga. Unafaa kuishia huko. Every time unaongea upumbavu. Hii country hatutoi change because you're in a position to benefit. That will not happen. Na hii ni kitu moja lazima mjue. Mtaka hapa mtu threaten na abductions, mtu threaten na kutudedisha. Kila mtu iko na life moja. Hata mdedishe kila mtu, nani hata waosha hizo ma Maybach zenyu zile mko nazo. Because you can't even wash your own Maybachs. So mnatuhitaji. Na hii message tunashinda tukisema. Every time mnatuletea ujinga, mnatuambia elections, number 1, elections ni too expensive. Alafu number 2, on day 1, you say that how many emails were sent. So this is on Nini, day 1 ilikuwa, they've received 250,000 emails. Then the next day, wame receive 500,000. Try kuangalia. Do you see what happened there? This 250,000, that's the same trick they're planning to do with the elections. Itakuwa ni these mysterious figures that are going to come up. And that's why I keep telling watu like 2027 is going to be harder than mnafikiria. Na kama mnataka mseta wadanganya, kitu itakuwa easy, so try to run the country forever. So at least the least they expect to do ni 10 years. And 10 years it come with like a lot of resistance from us as Kenyans. So for us to actually achieve this in 5 years, it's going to take everyone and their grandmother to fight this. But one thing is for sure, and hii ni kitu moja, like one of the things inasemekanaga ilifanya Gachagua na Ruto akakosana, ni history ya like ati Gachagua alikuwa anasema that NIS did not warn them about how much ama how unpopular the finance bill is ama was. This is more unpopular than the finance bill. This is more unpopular than the finance bill. We cannot have an unpopular president change the constitution and pretend I will not participate and let his clowns participate. Because some of these clowns know this is their only chance to make money. Mse kama Kimani Ichung'wah knows he can never win the seat ya Nini, ya Kikuyu. Kumekuwa na hizi nonsense, unaona wasi wanaandika, nimechikia tukaa kina Alai wanasema that June 2027 Ruto will win 75% of the Kikuyu vote. That's dreaming. Kama kuna wasi ujam mpaka naitanga the Lannisters, and the Lannisters always pay their debt. Au ni Mount Kenya. Mount Kenya are going to pay their debt, and their debt is they feel betrayed and they're going to answer that betrayal. So that won't happen. So I'll say lazima tushinde tukiwaambia. Acha niwaambia. Kapia mina bite lip. I don't know kama lip bite you hivyo. But kuchange constitution this time azi. Kuna vitu zingine zinakuwaga bigger than baba in quotes. Hiyo story ati all you need to do is bring Raila on your side and then you can do anything you want. Yes, Raila tuna understand. He is mnaitanga octogenarian, yes? So he's in his 80s, iko na zero ambitions. That's understandable. But if there is no Kenyan with an ambition to be president, damn, wacha labda mimi nitokee, si basi mpatie mrasta wa kwanza power. At least me kile nitafanya nitawafaitia corruption. Of course amwezi nipatia, why? Because we'd never have a single prayer day. That's nonsense. That's wasting time. We'd get to work. China inaga a single prayer day. But that's not about me. That's about this wajinga ma politicians wako Kenya, get some fucking ambition. Naina go out to kila mtu, even akina Sifuna. You are young, you can't follow an 8-year-old forever. He's shown you the way. It's time to tell him, Z, Buddha, pia si tuko na ambitions. Let's try this presidential shit. Tukipata tumepata, tukilose tumelose. Have some ambition. Yes, have some ambition. This guy is not a god. Like, I respect what he did for Kenya, but if he's going to support Ruto changing the constitution, cause hakuna vile Ruto anaweza change hii constitution without the blessing of ODM. That's one thing ile lazima tuseme. Bila blessing ya ODM, this thing is dead in the water. Najua hata haitatoka place yoyote. But ile kitu tunaenda kusema ni UDA tunawajua. You speak in one tongue, you tell us there will be no abductions, kuna kuwa na abductions. Mnatuambia mtaki kubadilisha constitution, mnatuambia vile tuna need to pay taxes and no single shilling will be stolen. Nakumbuka hii ujinga tuliambiwa, hakuna single shilling itastiliwa. In Japan they do this, and in the same government their financial advisor Moses Kuria alioversee when 6.8 billion ilikuwa inapotea kwa edible oil. Alafu umsemingine Linturi 2.4 billion kwa fake fertilizer. We are not going to take your word. Najua. And one thing is Buddha. Najua mtanichukua kafala fulani, kamrasta fulani, mnaweza sema nimevuta bangi, because that's only going to be your only defense. But nitaambia live, changing the constitution, we will be more angry than June 25th. Na pia kwa Wakenya out there, June 25th, 2025, that's a public holiday. Mi ndio nimeweka hiyo gazette notice jo. Watoi wetu watakaa home. Na wakikaa home tutauliza kwa nini, tuambia cause this day is the day that we showed the political class that the same bullshit can't keep continuing. IKONINI.